Good morning, class. Today's lesson is 2.10. Problem solving fraction operations. Our essential question: how can you use the strategy use a model to help you solve a division problem? Let's unlock the problem. Sam had 3/4 pound of granola. Each day he took 1/8 pound to school for a snack. If he had 1/4 pound left over, how many days did Sam take the granola to school? Use the graphic organizer below to help you solve the problem. Well, first I need to know, what do I need to find? Well, I need to find out how many days did Sam take the granola to school, right? What information do I need to use? Well, Sam started with, so he started with 3/4 pound, right? And he took 1/8 pound, right there, 1/8 pound every day, and he had 1/4 pound left over. So how will I use the information? Well, I'm going to draw a model bar to find out how much granola Sam used and how many days he took it to school. Let me lift this. So let's look at my model. So I have 3/4 pound, because that's what we Sam started with right here. So these are my 3/4. 1, 2, 3/4. That's my 3/4 pound. And then I'm going to take each of these quarters, I'm going to break them up into eighths. So I'm kind of breaking them up into eighths because each day we're taking 1/8 of a pound, right? So each of these I'm breaking up into eighths. If I'm looking at the model, it says that he's going to have 1/4 pound left over, right? So he had 3/4 to start with, so that's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So this is how much he's used right here. And then this quarter is how much is left over. So we know that Sam used 1/2 pound, right? Because he used all of this, right? So he used 1/2 pound, because if I were to take these 3/4, see how they have that imaginary quarter right there? This is, let me color this, it'll be a little bit easier to see. So this is my leftover of my 3/4, right? This is 1/4. This is 1/4. That was my leftover. And then if I were to do this 4th quarter right here, right, then that would be a whole, 1 whole. So if I'm looking at this, he's only used 1/2 of the pound, right? And because I have the 4 groups of 1/8, so 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 1/8 is equivalent to 1/2. So 1/2 divided by 1/8 is 4. If you want to check that with an algebraic expression like we did yesterday, you can say 1/2 divided by 1/8. And then remember, we can change this into a multiplication problem of the inverse or the reciprocal. So we're going to change this to a multiplication problem. Switch the 8 over 1. Okay. And then I like to cross cancel. So I know that 2 can go into 2 and 2 can also go into 8. 2 goes into 2 1 time. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So I have 4 times 1 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. So I have 4 over 1, or again, we have 4. So Sam took the granola to school for 4 days. Let's try another problem. For a science experiment, Mr. Barrows divided 2/3 cups of salt into small jars, each containing 1/12 cup. If he has 1/6 cup of salt left over, how many jars does he fill? So first, what do I need to find out? Okay, so I need to look back in the problem. I want to find out how many, right? I want to find out how many jars does he fill. So that is what I'm trying to find out. Then it asks, what information do I need to use? Well, I'm going to need to know that he starts with 2/3 cup, right? He starts with 2/3 cup, and that he puts 1/12 cup in each jar, and that he has 1/6 left over. So how am I going to use that information? Well, I'm going to use that information by drawing a bar model that's going to help me find out how much salt Mr. Burrows uses and how many jars he fills. So if I'm drawing a bar model, the model, okay, needs to show that Mr. Burrows uses a half cup of salt. So first of all, let me draw the model. We're going to have our whole. It's going to be broken into thirds, right? And he divides 2/3. So that means, let me highlight. So we have 1/3, 2/3, right? So this right here is 2/3 cup, right? And this one right here is 1/3. It's the part I'm not using, right? Okay. Now I'm dividing these 2/3 up into 12s. So first let's look at what he used. Okay, let's divide these into 12s. Okay, so this is what was used, right? And then this is what was left over. So I'm going to have 6 groups of 1/12. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, because this is that one. 5, 6 groups of 1/12 divided equally into a half is going to be 6. So he's going to fill 6 jars. So write an expression that you could use to solve the problem. So we could use 2/3 minus the 1/6, right? And then divided by the 1/12. So that would be our expression that we'd use. Explain the method that Mr. Burrows starts with if it starts with 1 2/3 cups of salt, and explain how you could find how he'd fill the jars. Well, what you would do is I could draw 2 bar models, divide 1 into 3 parts, and a model 1 2/3 parts to show how much salt Mr. Burrows starts with. Then I could show that he uses 1 1/2 cups and count the number of 12ths and find that he could fill 18 jars. You are going to work with a partner to do the last one, and then you're also going to work on the homework problems that are in your homework page for this lesson, since there are so few of them. I want you to use each other so that you can have that conversation and help each other through these problems, and then I'm also going to be around. All right, good luck.